Okay, so we're gonna read off some of the most common questions that we get asked all the time. So what are
here's the first question. Can I get one of these in Texas?
Yes, you can get a tiny home in Texas.
That's why we put tires on them.
Yes.
We'll get them where you want them.
Yes. Now you would have to pay for a delivery fee, not to us, to a third-party company that
Unless
ships
you want to
it.
pick it up.
If you want to pick it up, you can as well. Our tiny homes are RVIA certified, so they can go on any roadways.
Cool. And question: how much are these? So, real quick, describe the one that we're in right now, and talk a little bit about the different prices for the different sizes.
Okay, so this is an 18-foot tiny home. It feels huge when you're actually in it. From the outside, it looks really small because it's only 18 feet. But this one, we've actually done a little unique. This is a natty floor plan in an 18-footer, which we didn't think was possible, but we ended up making it work. So all the cameras and equipment is in the living room, and then we have a queen-size loft. What was that?
Something noisy. Don't worry about it. Nothing fell off this house. It was like the dumpster outside or something.
Okay, well, we got the queen loft up top, a full-size bathroom, full-size kitchen, a nice storage area for your TV that actually like slides out of here.
Will pull out of here.
With your fridge and your microwave in it. It's actually really cool. This tiny home's gonna be finished really nicely.
And very soon.
And these, real quick, what are like an 18-footer, how much do they normally?
So an 18-footer starts out at $55,000 and a 30-footer starts out at $91,000.
Okay, here's an interesting question, and repeat these questions.
That's my job.
This really was a legitimate question on one of the, I think it was it might have been one of the YouTube videos, but it said, does Eric have a daughter that gives him a makeover? And I think it was I had to guess it was in reference to your nails.
Oh, because your nails.
I do have a daughter, but it's my wife I do my nails for, and honey, it is time to go because I've picked off all this. Don't pay attention to the Band-Aid. Didn't hurt myself today, but it's time to go. No, I do pedicures and manicures with my wife because, I don't know, I love her. So
it makes her happy.
Makes her happy, and
that's what's important.
I'm not going to say the happy wife, happy life thing, but
it's true.
Just make her happy, and then she makes me happy. It seems to be working out pretty well.
Yeah. I actually don't think you look as well without your pink
I feel
nails.
a little naked.
Yeah, that gives you the special wow factor.
Yeah. Sorry.
So do you have, where are you located?
We are located in St. George, Utah, and like I said, we ship nationwide. Our Zion's Tiny Getaway is located in Apple Valley, and we are, starting a new location in Tennessee, about 30 minutes from Nashville.
I love the going live because I've learned something new every time we go live. I learn something
now
new.
Listen here. The only reason the only reason I don't say things all the time is because I don't announce things until they're like happening. I just signed the documents. It's happening. We bought 6 acres out by Nashville, Tennessee, and that's our next location. So we're pretty excited. 3 acres of wooded
That's pretty sweet.
trees, and then the other 3 acres are cleared off. So
Honey, I'm moving to Tennessee. Coming with me?
no way.
Oh, I wasn't talking to you. You're not the honey.
No, I know that,
Oh, okay,
but I'm just saying.
I have questions, though. Can I ask questions?
Yes.
Or are we building these here? Are
Yes.
we opening and we're just shipping them off?
Yep, just shipping them off.
I like this idea.
Yeah. So
That's pretty sweet.
I'm excited. I think it's pretty awesome. We got a stealer deal on the land.
How far outside of Nashville?
It's 30 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So we're like 9 minutes into town, but then 30 minutes from the main part of Nashville. So it's really awesome because you still get that secluded feeling, but close to everything if you want to shop, if you want to do anything. And there's a lot of caverns and stuff like that where you can go like spelunking and cool things.
Let's build a Zion's Tiny recording studio.
So it's actually going to be called Nashville's Tiny Getaway.
Why Nashville?
It's right next to Nashville.
No. Why did you choose Nashville?
Oh, I have family
Why
out
did you
in
choose Nashville?
Yeah, I have family in Tennessee. So it's a good way to give my family jobs. It's good. It's good. And it's a really good touristy location, Nashville,
that
Tennessee.
works.
Yeah. So it's perfect. Okay,
That is awesome.
next question.
Okay. Do you have any with a bedroom on the main floor?
Do we have any with a bedroom on the main floor?
Of course we do.
Of course.
It's the Serenity. Jeez,
It even has a name.
You think you would have never built a tiny home before? Of course we have a bottom bedroom tiny house.
What I'm curious, why would because this is I really got this off of a TikTok.
Uh-huh.
Why would somebody ask that? Because do you have any that don't have a bedroom? Because a lot of them have those cubbies, right? Where you have a bedroom. Is that considered a bedroom?
No, we don't
No.
consider that a bedroom. So you're talking about the man cave in a tiny house.
Right.
We don't consider a man cave a bedroom. A bedroom we consider something you can fully stand up in and not have to walk upstairs to get into.
Yeah, we just recently finished a 30-footer that had a bedroom in the front with a Murphy bed and a fold-down office. And what else was in that bedroom? The bedroom even had the
Oh, I
built-in
know what-
TV.
I know which one you're talking
and
about.
then it had the queen loft on the other end.
That one was super cool.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Yeah, so we can definitely do a bedroom on the bottom. I wouldn't want to go upstairs every night.
No, it's getting to the point where we were building so many tiny homes. I have to look at Eric and be like, no, which one is that one? I'm just saying.
And I have no one to look to.
Yeah, and he's like, you should know this, Otto. And I know I should. I'm just always pulled away. So what's the next question?
Why don't you plug the YouTube channels while I'm looking for the next question here?
Okay, so if you want to learn more about my family and like behind the scenes, follow Meet the McGregors on YouTube. If you want to learn more about Zion's Tiny Homes, go ahead and follow Zion's Tiny Homes on YouTube, where we're going to be releasing lots of videos and updates. And don't worry, Katie, we're not moving.
Okay.
I would not move. There's no way. I'm like, my roots are so deep here, I could never leave. Never.
So how are these homes different? This is once again a legitimate question. I think,
Yeah.
different than a trailer.
How are these tiny homes different than a trailer? Endless amount of answers to this one.
So this one infuriates me to the core, okay? And this is why. A trailer manufacturer is gonna build a trailer in 7 hours, whereas a tiny home, it takes 4 to 6 weeks to build, and that's because of the quality. It's the insulation factor, the fact that you can actually refurbish these and make them into a regular home if you'd like. You can remodel every other year or however often you want. It's completely different. It's built like a regular home versus a trailer that you have to tic-tac together and pay an RV guy $120 an hour just to fix something because you can't get it from Home Depot. And that's a big difference where you can actually maintain your tiny home versus you can't maintain a trailer by yourself. You just can't.
And I hear a lot of the time they like the regular home appliances.
Yeah,
Like the
that's-
faucet, it's
yeah.
something you'd use in your house. The trim is, it looks like a house, and that's
It's homey. It
Yeah.
feels like a home. And
Yeah.
there's no drafts. Like if you close the door in a tiny home, you're not going to hear what's going on outside the tiny house because it's insulated. It's got nice windows. It's an actual home, something to secure you. An RV, if someone wanted to, they could take a hammer and smash right through your RV. Like that makes no sense. You couldn't do that to a tiny home.
although hammers would work on our windows. Don't do
Okay,
it.
yeah, of course you could break a window, but I mean, that's going for anything. Always contradicting, I swear. It's like,
I need
jeez.
something to talk about.
All right, what's next, Robert?
What's the metal on the outside of the homes?
Oh, what's the metal on the outside of the homes?
I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, it's 26 gauge steel. We use a local supplier. He's actually on our road, and it's all bent for us. There.
It's custom.
Yeah, and I don't know how many colors.
It's well, yeah. There's a lot of colors. I would say at least 15 colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reason why we really like to use metal on the outside is it's just like metal roofing material where it has a lifespan of 30 plus years. The way we do it, you're waterproof. You're not going to have to worry about improving anything or ripping down siding or anything like that.
Yep.
What did you do to your finger? Your wife's mad at you. What'd you do?
Yeah, that's all right. It was a nail. It's okay.
Just
It was
a
a
nail.
nail.
It's a
Carry
nail.
on.
When you're talking about the tip of a finger, a nail can be two things.
No, it was not the fingernail. It wasn't bad. I just didn't want to get blood all over the new stairs back there. So, duct tape.
All right. Well,
That's awesome.
what's the next one?
In past things, you've talked about grants. How do you get the grants?
Oh,
How do we get grants? I have no idea.
okay.
Over to you.
So this one's for me. So we are actually an approved builder for Operation Tiny Home. Operation Tiny Home is actually really awesome. If you're going to be living in a tiny home for more than three plus years, they will actually give you a grant, and a grant you do not have to pay back. They're not checking your credit or anything crazy like that. So when they give you a grant, it's actually for half of your deposit on your tiny home. So that means, let's say you can afford to put down $6,000 on a tiny home. This company, Operation Tiny Home, will give you an additional $6,000 towards the price of your tiny home for free. You don't have to pay it back.
They'll
And
match it?
they will match it. Whatever you put down, they will match it up to $15,000.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is really cool, but you do have to apply through us. So we do all the paperwork, or I should say, I do all the paperwork for you. I
don't do
write up a paragraph for you and describe your situation to the company, and then they choose who gets the grants. So a lot of our applicants have been denied recently just because it's so much about COVID. So if you've been impacted by COVID, you're actually more likely to qualify for this grant. But so many of our clients hadn't been impacted by COVID, so they weren't qualifying.
And
So.
if you're just impacted, eat Raisin Bran.
What?
I don't know. I'm full of advice.
Don't listen to him. Actually, Raisin Bran would really work.
Yeah, of course it would.
Okay. If you're impacted to eat Raisin Bran, I don't know.
I don't
Sorry.
know either.
I'm sorry. Plug your ears.
I'm a doctor on my
All right.
side job.
What were you saying, Robert?
That's great.
Yeah, sure it is.
Keep upping the quality, the standards. keep
Quality and
improving.
standards.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
family company.
so-
Don't worry.
Improve this just slightly.
I'm too loud for my microphone. And
Yeah.
that's good.
So I hear that banks won't give loans for tiny homes.
You hear banks won't give homes for tiny. Check that. You hear banks won't give loans for tiny homes?
Well, that's brand discrimination. As long as it is RVIA certified, built by a RV manufacturer, you should be able to get RV loans. Now, there are certain banks like Liberty Bank that'll give you an actual tiny home loan. Liberty Bank is really awesome, and they go through the due diligence in researching the builders and making sure they're legit for you, so you don't have to do all that stuff. They actually have a whole list of builders. We're on there as well, obviously.
Just say we're the only ones on there.
But I'm not gonna lie.
Oh.
There are other tiny home builders, and if we can't meet your specifications, I'm happy to help you find someone who can. I mean, that's why we're in the business, right?
Sure.
So are there a lot of banks that do give loans for tiny homes then?
There are. So we've actually been able to work with a lot of the large banks because I threw a little bit of a hissy fit. I did not pull a Karen. Don't even look at me like that. Okay, so when a bank said pretty much they can't loan on our tiny homes because they're tiny homes, not RVs, that's when I went down to the loan committee and I very nicely and calmly explained to them that's brand discrimination because we're RVIA certified, we're a legal RV manufacturer, and we're local. They should be willing to land on our tiny homes. We're listed at NADA so they can look up the price of our tiny homes and know the value of them. So there's no reason that they shouldn't loan on our tiny homes. And because of that, Mountain America loans on our tiny homes. Because of that, Cache Valley Bank loans on our tiny homes. And Deseret First Credit Union loans on our tiny homes. Liberty Bank loans on our tiny homes. Pretty much, you can go to any bank and get a tiny home loan for our tiny homes. And if you can't, I will fight for you.
Zion's tiny RVs just didn't sound right.
It didn't sound right. It really didn't because, they're not RVs. They're homes, and it should be Zion's tiny homes.
And you will fight for them. Zion's tiny arm twister.
Yes, I'll go down there and give them a good wedgie.
That's awesome.
A wedgie.
I don't know.
Bankers
I don't know.
hate wedgies.
I will make sure that I will fight on your behalf that you get the proper loan you deserve without them charging you extra simply because we built it. That's not okay. So that's what I do. I fight banks and I fight cities and I'll fight until I don't have to fight anymore. I'll be happy.
Where can I park a tiny home to live in it?
Well, that kind of depends on your city and the zonings in your
Maybe
city.
repeat that.
Yeah, I was going to, but she just
She
jumps
jumped right in
yeah.
there.
Go for it.
Where can you park a tiny home? Go.
To live in? To live in? Okay. If you want to live in a tiny home, it really does depend on the CC&Rs in your city and on the land that you're trying to live on. You can, if it's RVIA certified, park in an RV, like park. Not too many people want to live in an RV park, but you can park a tiny home in an RV park and live there. You can also do it on acreage if it's in county land, as long as the CC&Rs allow for that, you can. So really, you have to look into the CC&Rs, which is codes, covenants, and restrictions, to find out if you're allowed to live in your tiny home. And most cities and counties will allow you to live in a RV/tiny home for 6 to 9 months without needing any type of permitting. Okay, what's next?
What are the dimensions? We know the length, but what is it? What are the general dimensions?
So do you want exact dimensions? If you want exact dimensions, I'm going to refer to my good friend Eric over here.
Maybe let's do that. Like, what are the exact dimensions, Eric?
Repeat that question.
What are the what
are the exact
what are the
dimensions of a
exact
tiny
measurements? Well, this one we're in. Interior would be 89 inches wide. Interior, and it's 18 long, but there is a bump out on the back where we tuck the vanity in the bump out, and so that ends up probably being about 19 and a half feet.
Not including
So
the tongue.
the living room you're in right now would be 89 inches by 81 inches, which will fit a bed if they choose to put a sleeper bed.
Yep.
The upstairs, this half of the curve, that fits a queen bed with 28 inches beside it of floor. The bathroom has, this one is a 3-foot shower. So it's a 3-foot by 89 inch bathroom with the 45 inch by 24 inch vanity top.
Okay, so a pretty regular size home bathroom.
Yeah, the bathroom, people do love the bathrooms. And
Yes.
because this is an 18-footer, this is one of the smaller bathrooms we do.
Yeah, we had to compromise space
Right.
from somewhere, it being only 18 feet.
We usually put a 4-foot shower in them.
Exactly.
How much maintenance is involved with a tiny home?
How much maintenance is involved in a tiny home?
I would say it depends on the finishes of what you put interior. Exterior, there's little to no maintenance unless you do wood wrapping or wood trim of any kind. Wood is going to warp or discolor, pretty much crack, do whatever happens with wood when it, the weather is not very nice to wood. I'm sorry. I hate
Especially
wood
here in the
on the
desert.
exterior. It doesn't make any sense. We've done it. We have wood tiny homes and it just doesn't hold up. So my biggest concern, sorry, what does that say? Bring out human. You are now human.
Your ADD is on a roll. You were in the middle of a sentence.
Was I in the middle of a sentence? I don't believe I was.
You were.
You were, actually.
Sing a song.
I didn't. I did not start singing a song. I'm pretty sure I was not singing.
You started talking about
Okay, the maintenance required exterior is only an issue if you are wrapping wood of any kind. Now, if you stick to the metal on the exterior of the tiny home, you're not going to have maintenance issues at all in the exterior. The interior, the places that you might have maintenance are your stair treads, your floor, maybe some paint scuffs, depends on how rough you are with your tiny home, and your countertops. If they're not sealed with epoxy, you might have some issues there.
So everything you got in your house that falls apart, it's gonna fall apart here, the normal things that you have to maintain, your paint and things, that's gonna fade over time. If the sun's coming in, you don't pull the shades down, or you change your mind, you don't like that color. But most everything here is gonna wear and tear up just like your normal, everyday, normal house. Hope that answered that question.
I think I'm speechless.
what are the utility bills like?
Oh, little to nothing.
So like, what would it be like?
Okay, I do. So for an example, for our Zion's Tiny Getaway, we have guests in and out of tiny homes, and they use it a lot. Pretty much everything in the tiny home they want to turn on and they want to use.
And leave it on when they leave.
Exactly, it's true. So out of, right now, we have about 20 tiny homes on the on-grid resort. My electricity bill was $1,700 for 20 tiny homes.
This is a monthly.
This is monthly, yes.
bill.
And that's running a mini
20
split.
homes.
That's running mini split
24/7.
systems, the hot water heater, like
And
everything.
less than $100 a month per home.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's even covering like the stupid cover charges they charge us. Absolutely ridiculous. So pretty much the electric charges are about $500. We have to pay cover charges to the electricity company to have a large resort.
So it don't take many pennies to run one of these. You
Yeah,
know. You just use an extension cord, you plug it in.
We actually build them with
LEDs.
LED lights. So you don't have to use very much electricity to run the lights. And the mini split systems are a lot cheaper to run than like a regular AC system or heater. What else you got for me?
Is it possible to raise a family at a time?
Oh, of course. Of course.
So tell me so we have it through the microphone.
Okay.
Is it possible to raise a family in a tiny home?
Of course. What a silly question.
First, you gotta have a kid. And I can't help
the
you with
easy
that.
part. That's the easy part. Raising a child for sure is the hard part. I have 3 children who I love dearly. They take so much out of you. But to be honest, raising a child in a tiny home, it's all up to you. Like it can go either direction. If you want to give your child lots of love and attention, living in a tiny home's great. If you want to be more of a secluse from your child and have your own space and be able to breathe every once in a while, then living in a tiny home, raising a child might not be the best situation. You really have to know yourself and your kids to decide that. But I think people can make it work? Of course, or I wouldn't be doing it.
How do you find appliances for a tiny home?
Oh,
How do you find appliances for a tiny home?
despicable. It depends. It depends. If it's on wheels and RVI certified and a propane appliance, it has to be registered with RVUs. It has to go through shake testing. So what they do is they take the propane appliance and they put it on a shaker and because they don't know how crazy of a driver you are. Maybe you're going around crazy. They want to make sure the propane fittings aren't going to come loose while you're driving and blow up. So yes, if it's propane, it has to be listed for RV use. And please vent your freaking stove. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry.
Well, okay, I think we just hit a nerve there. What
Oh,
was
we
that?
did.
Yes.
Why?
Okay, it bugs the living bejeebers out of me when I see tiny homes online that don't have vents on, like, above their stove. The first time you cook anything like bacon or anything, your entire house is gonna fill up with smoke. It needs to vent to the outside, not just recirculating venting. It needs to vent to the exterior to be RVIA certified. This is important. Do it. Vent to the exterior.
How do people find out about your company?
Ooh, how do people find out about our company?
Okay, so Zion's Tiny Homes is mostly word of mouth, honestly. I am not very good at social media and advertising. We do have a website. People do search us on Google. We get about 2,000 hits a month, I would say. A little over 2,000 hits a month on our website, which is really awesome, but I'm barely just starting getting into social media, so this is kind of our first live on Facebook for that reason. But yeah, so that's how they hear about our company, Google and word of mouth. Like, we treat our customers with respect and we make sure they're happy, even if it means we lose money. So
Or
a lot
sleep.
of word of mouth.
Lose money and sleep.
Yeah, we lose sleep too. It's not cool.
Are these easy to move?
Yes, they are. So, sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Oh, our tiny home's easy to move.
Yes, they are.
There you go. Moving on?
Yes.
No.
Because don't you have, what is it you do with the wheels when you get up to the...
Up at the resort?
Yeah, because we did a video about
Yes.
this where you were doing putting it up on something.
Okay, so our tiny homes come with jacks on all 4 sides, right? So if you're gonna be living somewhere permanently or a more permanent situation, I do recommend putting the jacks down, getting it on a post and beam foundation, which that is leveling it out with cinder blocks, removing the wheels and putting the jacks down. And that's gonna give you a more stable environment to live instead of being on wheels and maybe moving everything and stuff like that. So
those wheels will go flat also, and
exactly,
you
and then
don't
you
wanna
wouldn't
sit
be
on
able to
those
really
for
use them.
years.
So the simple process of moving a tiny home after you've established residence is lifting it up a little higher on the jacks, putting the wheels back on, and moving your cinder blocks.
But they go down the road all right. I
Yes.
think Jared took that one up to Salt Lake, and he said I think he got up to like 70 miles an hour, and that was a 30-footer.
That was a 30-footer on the freeway going 70 miles an hour with a 1-ton truck, a dually. And it was good. He said there was no swaying, it wasn't moving the truck, nothing like that. So they're pretty easy to tow as long as you have the right equipment. If you're trying to tow a tiny home with a 150, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No. Because the tiny home will be towing you. So, yeah. And just for reference, the tiny homes, we get this question a lot too. How much does a tiny home weigh? And the tiny homes weigh quite a bit, actually. They weigh anywhere between 11,000 pounds all the way up to 16,000 pounds, depending on the size. And the appliances. And if you want to put a clawfoot tub in a tiny home, gorgeous, but they're very heavy. So you have to kind of level that out and know that it's going to be a little heavier than if we put a regular shower stall in it.
And you have to think about your balance, and your tongue weight. I couldn't put like everything in the front of this and then have a big space open in the back. That wouldn't really work all that well with your tongue weight,
Yes.
So they're pretty evenly distributed.
Do you think that through when you're building them?
I try to think. Yeah,
Like
I do.
Where
Yeah.
the weight goes
Mhm.
for a certain. Okay.
And actually, the guy that builds our trailers, they're custom. If I know that I will have more weight in the front, he can shift my axles, a little bit here and there to
Yes.
get that 60-40 split.
Just like back in a trailer.
Yeah.
You don't have all your weight in the back. It's
Right.
like a fishtail all over the
Right.
Yep. So just a little backstory of that. When we first started Zion's Tiny Homes, me and Jared, we didn't have a lot of experience towing. In fact, we bought our first truck just to build our tiny home. So we didn't even own trucks when we first started. We didn't know much about towing, let alone owning a truck or a tiny home. So when we built the June Bug, which is our very first tiny home, we filled it up before we delivered it to the campsite for the guest. So we filled up the water, which we put in the very back of the tiny home. And our truck was a 3/4 ton truck. And that tiny home was doing this all along the freeway. And Jared was freaking out. He ended up pulling on the side of the freeway and emptying the water tank on the side of the freeway. It was fresh water, but still, waste of water. Don't fill up your tiny home before you tow it. Just don't do it.
How long will a tiny home last?
So they're projected to last over 30 years with the stuff that we build them. It has like a regular home lifetime.
Now, if you drive over an IUD, that changes everything. But
Over a what?
yeah, well, like one of them, them bomb things. Aren't they called IUDs?
IED.
IED.
That is.
That was close. I was so close.
An IED.
I'm so glad that you repeated IUD because that is awesome. If you drive over an IUD, I think you're going to be fine. It's just a little plastic thing.
I love you, Kevin. You got it.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, exactly. But if you drive over a bomb,
Oh, yeah,
obviously
bomb.
that's not covered. We do have a warranty, so that's good too. But really, it's only on the stuff that we did. So let's say that you put appliances in here after the fact, we can't cover your appliances and stuff like that. So we did have a customer install a new fridge, and she was claiming that our electrical shorted out her fridge, and we obviously didn't cover that because it didn't. There was nothing wrong with the electrical. She was able to install a new fridge, and the electrical was fine. It was just a short with the fridge.
Real quick, tell us again about where we're sitting right now and what's behind you or whatever. Where we are, what we're in.
Okay, so we are actually sitting in a 18-foot natty model, which has never been done before. We're super excited about it because we're able to sleep 4 in this little tiny 18-footer and have a full-size bathroom, full-size kitchen, everything that we want and desire in an 18-footer, which is pretty awesome.
And that rounded shiplap wall that they wanted.
Oh, that was a pain in the butt.
Awesome.
Yes.
But it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Eric's so awesome at these little tiny details. He makes sure every single client gets exactly what they want or close to it.
My problem is I say, yes, I can, and then lose sleep trying to figure it out. But it's done. Yeah, so those stairs curve around that wall. How much can you be involved in designing your tiny home?
That's actually a pretty simple question. We do a design meeting before we start building your tiny home for a purpose. We want to make sure that we're designing a tiny home that fits your needs. So when you come to a design meeting, I always recommend bringing pictures of tiny homes that you enjoy or you like. Design aspects, like if you want a more modern or a more farmhouse, like what you want. Come to the design meeting knowing an outline of what you want so we can tailor a tiny home to what you want.
I like your home to be your home.
Exactly.
So 100%.
Yes.
As long as I fit within RVIA standards
Yes.
and regulations,
So
that's going to be your home.
if we have to completely design a whole new floor plan, there is an extra cost to that just because it's a lot more involved on our end with RVIA and NADA and making sure you can get a loan on it. But if it's closer to a floor plan that we do, which we have, how many floor plans do we have? 5 or 6? I think the 6th one is custom. I think we've left it open for a custom one.
Okay.
We offer options for each model. So let's say you decided to have a man cave, which is where we lift up your living room and then you have an extra sleeping area underneath your living room. And both of them, like you can stand in the living room still and you can still sit up in that under area. It's just like a reverse loft, but it has a window, bookshelf, and TV down there as well. So you don't feel like you're in a dungeon. It's actually a pretty cool little man cave.
Or woman cave.
Man cave. Women get the, you know.
Woman cave.
No, women get the bedroom.
She should.
Whatever. Okay. Next question.
That tells me that there are limitations or as to how tall you can make a tiny home. So just tell
Yeah.
us that. Just what is the
So how tall can we build our tiny home? But that also goes back to your design meetings because a lot of times people bring in designs, tiny homes they love that are not RVIA, and they have catwalks that they can walk on where we have to stay 13'6" so we fit under the bridge.
Yep.
So a lot of people sometimes will get disappointed because they can't get exactly what they want because they're looking at a 16-foot tall by 10-foot wide tiny home.
Which is not a tiny home.
Well, it is, but
It's a
what do they
mobile
call
home.
these now?
Manufactured mobile home.
THOWs.
Oh, tiny house on wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
explain what's it? I don't. You just lost me. That's easy to do. I
So
know.
you could go buy a tough shed and live in it, and it's your home, and that's a very tiny home.
Yeah,
But
that's
what we do
technically
are-
some people's tiny home. Yeah.
THOW, tiny home on wheels. That's what. I don't.
That's and thus the height restriction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. And because we're legal, you could still put a tiny home on wheels if it's in your yard and build it 20 feet tall, and I guess
not be legal.
Not be legal.
I think that needs to be talked about more in the tiny home community is when someone builds a tiny home in their backyard, that tiny home's not legal. And a lot of times they didn't follow the codes and regulations. So if you buy that tiny home from them and now you're moving it to your new city where you live and you're trying to live in that tiny home, the city has laws and regulations about self-made tiny homes or self-made RVs or any type of RV that is not RVIA certified. Like way before tiny homes were a thing, Utah, which is the state we live in, adopted codes, right? I mean, obviously they're going to have codes for RVs, and it states that no RV can be in an RV park if it's not RVIA certified. So let's say someone built a tiny home in their backyard. They're not a licensed manufacturer. They're not RVIA certified or NADA. And I go buy that tiny home thinking, hey, I'm a free person. I can live in this tiny home in an RV park. Well, I bring it to that RV park and that RV park won't accept it because it's not RVIA certified. And it's not because they're discriminating against the tiny home. It's simply because there's state laws that if it's in an RV park, it has to be RVIA certified, and that's for health and safety. And I don't think we should pick at those laws. It's there for a reason. Like, you can't build a tiny home in your backyard if you have no experience and try to sell it for thousands and thousands of dollars and then it burned down. So that's a whole thing. So I think it should be talked about more in the tiny home community. That's my rant.
What's the whole process of getting it booked, and what's it like being there?
So
Question is, I got like one roll through this whole thing.
all right, fine, I'll shut
repeat
up.
question.
All right, go for it.
I gotta remember the question. What is the whole experience behind booking a tiny home at Zion's Tiny Getaway?
Well, that would honestly depend on if you booked at the on-grid or the off-grid. We do have several different options, and once we add the Tennessee, I'm pretty sure that'll be different as well. But the off-grid tiny home, I'll just explain both circumstances and you can figure it out if you like it or not. So the off-grid tiny home, what's gonna happen is you're gonna get your check-in instructions a day before you arrive. Sometimes you can ask beforehand for the check-in instructions. That's fine. We just don't give you the code for the door. So once you arrive, you do receive a YouTube video guiding you down, making sure you make every turn correctly, because it is an off-grid experience and it's on 40 acres, pretty much in the middle of a huge clearing. It's beautiful, gorgeous. You can see every star in the sky. But so you get there, you get all the check-in information, and you arrive and you're good to go. And if you need anything, we are literally a phone call away or a text away. And then the on-grid experience is pretty much the same thing, except for the fact you don't get a YouTube video guiding you down any roads because it's on-grid. There's an address associated with it, and it's literally right there. You go, you get your door code, and you check in.
Legally, I just want to say you can't see every star. I don't want these people showing up thinking to see every star. You can't see every star.
Okay.
There's a lot.
You can see a lot of stars.
Yeah, that'll pass.
You can see the Milky Way, an arm of the Milky Way. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. I would totally live out there.
Wait, and you have normal standard check-in, check-out times like a hotel?
Yes.
What's all that like?
Yeah.
Well, what?
I mean, basically,
If you've been to a hotel in the last 20 years.
No, you're supposed to repeat the question.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get all up on
What-
my butt and do the same thing I do. So repeat.
What is the... Yeah, no, there's just normal check-in, check-out times. Check-in's at 3, and check-out is, I'm going to guess, 11.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even check, but I've been to a hotel, so I figured that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Eric,
Yeah.
how did you get involved with this business?
How did I get involved with this business?
I stole him. Haha, I imported him.
I lived in New Hampshire. I fell in love and needed to come here. Looked on the internet and saw them. I called them. Had an interview 2 days later, and then I moved here within a month.
Yes.
I lived in a tiny home in New Hampshire, and I'm tiny, so it kind of it worked for me. I'm one of the only employees that actually fits in these things.
Okay, I'm just going to level with everybody. So when Eric applied for that job position, it was like an answer to prayers. And I know I don't give him enough credit all the time. I don't say that. Might get a little emotional. You might see me cry. Get over it. So I actually remember, I think you emailed first. I think you might have emailed.
No, I can tell you. I was eating a grinder. I think I had dripped mayonnaise on my shirt, and I had the phone and I called Jared. And I was like, hey, what's this job all about?
I know, but you emailed first. I remember talking to you. The
Really?
Email. Yeah. Because
Okay.
you sent me the magazine and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So my memory's shot. So just listen to what she has
Okay,
to say.
so when he emailed, I was actually, me and Jared were both freaking out because we had a manager just up and leave. And when he emailed us about the job position, I was laying in bed and Jared was gone. I have really bad migraine, so I was laying in bed and I just glanced and I read his email and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually amazing. And I hope that he's telling the truth. I hope he's not scamming us or anything like that. So I started emailing back and forth. And next thing you know, I'm calling Jared like in tears. I think I found our new manager. He's perfect. He builds tree houses. He's got like experience. It's even more cool because he's gonna be engaged to this woman who lives out here. So that was like a perfect example. And I was in tears. I was so excited that Eric applied for the position, and he's been everything and more that he said. So I think it was a godsend, and I'm so grateful for Eric.
And I got engaged right after my first interview. Then we all went out to eat.
Similar question to you, Autumn. Why did you start this business?
Here, I'll answer hers. I have no idea. I could just make all of this up right now.
Okay, so this company is a lot more to me than meets the eye. So growing up, being on and off homeless with my mother, if at any time I had a door I could close, some safety, something to protect me. If we had a tiny home when I was growing up, I would have been so much better off. Like, so many bad things happened to me simply because we were homeless, or she was in and out of jobs, or bad things are happening. I started this company as a way to give back, and I haven't reached my goal yet, but when I do, it's going to be huge.
World domination.
No. No, I believe that a family should be able to survive off of one income. Like back in the 50s when women or husbands were able to stay home and live off of one income, someone's got to be home to raise the children. Someone's got to fulfill those shoes, whether it's the man or the woman or whatever other situation you got going on there. I just feel like we need to bring love back into homes, and a good way to do that is to live tiny. Live tiny, live happy, live free, right? That's our motto, and it's always going to be our motto, because tiny homes to me is a way to give back families. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our video. If you're like me and you love tiny houses and you want to learn more, follow us on YouTube at Zion's Tiny Homes. If you want to learn more about me and my family and see behind the scenes, follow us on YouTube at Meet the McGregors.